Who are some of your favorite villains then?
Ooh, I had a list.
Oh,
because I do my homework.
I don't know who put this in the doc, but whoever mentioned Jesse and James.
That was so smart.
That was spot on because they are one of my favorite duos.
They're my favorite together, especially with Meowth
teams.
Meowth.
Team Rocket is
the best.
Incredible villain team.
Yeah, Team Rocket is way better than any of the other teams in Pokemon.
Yes,
they
are.
Team
they're
Rocket
the best.
loyalist.
They're the originals, and they're the best.
I'm all about Team Rocket.
They have the most character. They have the most fun. They're the funniest. Yeah, it's just
they're just spouting puns constantly, which is very Pokemon. That whole show's puns in English anyway.
And they're ridiculous, and sometimes they work with our heroes, and sometimes, which is super fun.
The ambiguous villain where it's like, maybe you're just misguided. You're not terribly evil, but you're kind of a jerk. Right. I also love their banter and their rapport, like how they just they do gender swapped costumes a lot.
They do. I love it.
I love it so much. I'm like, Jessie, you're my queen. I want to be you. And then James is just like, I don't know. There's something about him.
She's so in control too. I love that she kind of bullies him.
Like, listen,
listen, hon.
listen.
She runs it.
Listen, trash.
She runs that show.
She does.
Who else? Some good.
Vegeta is an anti-hero. I guess he would be a villain. You can say that about a lot of Dragon Ball characters, though. They are all they're villains, and then all of a sudden, friendship is magic.
Yay, friendship! We actually have a top 10 anime villains, I think, on IGN that you can check out, and I think he's on there because of that very reason. Where he's he's not a straight villain, but he certainly starts off that way. Right. Like when you first meet him, he immediately is trying to look for Goku and pick a fight.
Man, yeah, he's just like, this is a bad guy. Oh, he looks real tough. He's got it out for him. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're friends. Spoiler alert, not really.
Who else? Cell, maybe?
Frieza. Yeah. Frieza's a good villain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Frieza's definitely a really good villain.
The one day we don't have our golden Frieza on the desk
whoops, we failed. Yeah. No. Oops. Yeah. I have half the cast of Slayers on here because that's my favorite anime.
Go for it.
And the voice actor Takehito Koyasu literally does almost every villain in anime. So my favorite villain ever is Reizo, the Red Priest from Slayers. I had the biggest crush on him. So story time in the 90s, because I'm old and I'm going to tell this story, but I had a GeoCities account.
Hell yeah.
And I had a Queen Megumi's Reizo Shrine. That was what it's called because Megumi Hayashibara is my favorite voice actress. And Megumi is the closest to Megan. So I had this whole thing dedicated to Reizo.
Oh my gosh.
We should call you Megune.
Not Megune, Megumi. I don't disappear.
Megumi.
Yeah, I don't want to go out because of a zombie apocalypse. Thank you very much. But it was Reizo.
Too soon, guys.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Reizo, Zetos, and Chaos Dragon Gov. They had a lot of good villains, and they're either super evil or Reizo starts off, you think he's your friend, but he's manipulating everything. And I like those super smart villains that they make you think they're your friend, but it's it was me, Dio. It was me all along. There you go, Dio. There's another good one, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah, Dio.
Dio.
It's almost better when they're just more intellectual than if they're just straight out violent.
Yeah.
Because it's almost more intimidating. It's just oh man, who knows what they're up to. They're very crafty.
Yeah, devious villains.
Yes.
Does Hyoin Kyoma count?
Kyoma.
I am mad scientist.
I'm so cool. That is such a weird scene. From Steins Gate. If you haven't been joining us, we watched a lot of Steins Gate these past weeks.
We did.
But yeah, Kyoma is interesting because he creates his own villains, the organization.
Yeah.
He kind of projects that villainous aspect on them, but then he kind of adopts this mad scientist villain thing, but he's a good person.
He's such a good person.
I love moral ambiguity because people are complex. I also love in Kill la Kill, I love Satsuki because
good choice.
She's freaking love Kill la Kill. That was dangerous. I love Kill la Kill so much. And Satsuki, I really didn't like her at first because I was you're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to.
I love that. I love when there's kind of not a bait and switch, but once you learn more about the character, once you get more depth to a character, you like them more, even if before you were like, you trash, I hate you. Why is everybody a pig in human clothing?
Because they start to humanize her, and you just like understand her and where she's coming from.
Yeah, and it's such a satisfying revelation when you finally do get to know her.
Which goes right back to villains are more interesting because they have more complexity, more depth.
Yep. Yeah.
And Satsuki's a good example.
Yeah, she's like, I think a lot of villains, the characterization comes from trauma or something like that. But I do think it's interesting when the protagonist has just misinterpreted a person, and you, because you're seeing that person through the protagonist's eyes, you kind of misinterpret them too. And it's a cool journey.
You know what's really cool is when the flip side of that is like in Michiko and Hachin, where Michiko is always looking for her boyfriend and the dad of Hachin, and she builds him up to be this hero. And spoiler alert, because I know it's playing on Toonami. I don't know if it's gotten to the end. So if you haven't seen it, close your ears. But at the end,
I haven't finished it either. I'm closing my ears.
Oh,
okay.
Tell everybody.
Okay, so I can't now because you're just going to hear me anyway. But let's just say that it turns out that it's not what you think.
Yeah.
That it's been built up a certain way, but it's not what you think. And I liked that. I liked that a lot.
I think what it comes down to for all of our favorite villains that we talked about, it's always a depth to something where at first you're supposed to dislike this person. You're supposed to kind of, I'm against this person. We're fighting the evil. And then once you get to know them a little more, you start to really think.
Yeah,
that's the best part of. I like when anime, and just in general, but with villains also, just not being, one-dimensional in that, sometimes you feel bad for them. Sometimes you're like, oh, I like this hero, but they're kind of being mean to you, even though you're awful.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Sometimes the good guys.
I tell you, Shredder is too much picked on TMNT. Okay, that's technically not anime, but I had the biggest crush on. So James Avery
Shredder?
did the voice of Shredder, and his voice is sexy as hell. And so I had the biggest crush on Shredder in the 80s. But like he always was presented as this bad guy. But I guess in the actual canon, there's like backstory to it, where Shredder is not like quite straight up a bad guy, where he's just like playfully fun in the cartoon, but in the actual like comic, like apparently there's a little bit more backstory about his relationship, and it's more complicated with Splinter and blah blah blah. But it's wonderful when you're like, oh, there's more room for villains to have more story.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
cool.
I like, even in shows that aren't specifically like good versus evil or like heroes versus villains, I always like thinking of the antagonist as like a villain, because like in Food Wars, like Irina is kind of villainous because she's just really mean and sour, and and she's so against Soma, and you're rooting for him. You want him to do well at the school, and she's just doing everything in her power to like screw him up almost, and she's intrigued by him, and it's weird. And there's so much there, and I want a second season. And, I don't know. Yeah. I love villains. Maybe it's because I love tsundere girls.
Yeah, I like frenemies too. Frenemies are fun.
Yes.
So frenemies are fun. So you've got
are very fun.
Gray and Natsu from Fairy Tail, and it's just what made me think of it is I'm looking right at this awesome Sailor Mars figure. Yes. By the way, Chastity is wearing socks.
I have Sailor Mars socks.
Sailor Mars
very
socks.
hard to
I keep trying to get her to show people, but
it's a little difficult.
It's a little difficult.
I think you'll just have to believe her.
Yeah, you have to believe her. But I love that she and Serena, at least in the original anime, like they're always fighting.
Frenemies.
They're total frenemies. I love frenemies.
Yeah,
they're the best. Nagalina, all that stuff.
Yeah, there's not just one type of. Like, you think a villain is like sitting up in a castle, like, ha 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 ha, I am evil and just terrible. But sometimes, like, your best friend being mean to you is also.
That's like the worst villainy.
That's the worst
kind of. That's the worst villainy.
It's the worst kind of betrayal.
It is.